Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 3 prepared questions that were posed to the candidates. And on the format, we're now going to go to the written questions. And the written questions I'm sure the forms were distributed out throughout the audience tonight, and they were handed in. And the questions can either be addressed to the individual candidate, or they can be addressed to all of the candidates. And so we're going to ask one of the chamber members who's volunteered to do that to read them out.
In today's economic uncertainty, if the county were to have a budget deficit, how would you address it? Would services be scaled back, or would you invoke privatization?
Thank you, Carol.
Well, I think the first thing we have to remember is that in tough economic times, tough decisions have to be made. Does that mean that I believe that any service should ever be cut back? No. But there are certain times where things can be moved around in order to achieve our goals. I think what people have to remember as well is that 93% of your tax dollar we have no control over as a local council. That leaves us 7% of what's left to try and do the jobs that you all want us to do. I think at times as well, we need to be able to make sure we put our money where our mouth is. And when we see a project that will help our community move forward, that will help seniors, that will help business, that will help people grow and see our community grow the way they believe it should be, there comes a time where, as Madam Mayor pointed out, the reserves are there. Why are they there? They're there for that rainy day. Should these be used willy-nilly? Absolutely not. They have to have a business plan. They have to have a business plan to ensure that taxpayers get what they deserve. And when we use their money, we have to be responsible with it. Thank you.
Gary, you okay with the question?
Yep. You've already heard from everybody that the county's in a good financial position, $47 million in reserve. Some of that reserve is for roads and other services already allocated. So if we were running short, then that's what the reserve's there for. It's already allocated for certain tasks. The only thing I would really add to what's already been said, obviously I'm in favor of increasing the tax base by getting more development here. I've already said that. But I'd like to see a return to a day where the tax is increased by 0, or even reduce the tax. And the only way to really do that, the reason why taxes went up, is because we lost the tax base. This county is out $12 million every single year, not by any fault of anybody in this room. So it is part of my proposal that the county must move to sue the Ontario government to recoup that money. That's your money. It's coming from your pocket. And whether that takes us 4 years or 5 years to get that through the court system, that is our true reserve, because it adds up to $100 million or $150 million by the time we get this through the court system. The class action has proved that you can hold the government accountable. The courts will honor that. And the county has to start saying that the county's not responsible for what took place, but we lost the taxes. And now all you people have to pay the makeup for that. We have to move and sue the Ontario government to recoup that money. And believe me, once the Ontario government knows we're willing to do that, then they'll be knocking on our door, because they don't want any more lawsuits, I can guarantee you that.
This is to all councillors. If the native protesters put up a toll road in Caledonia in 2011, as they have said they would, what would you do about it?
Well, I think first step would be the mayor or the councillor would contact the various government to try to work behind the scenes to get Six Nations to have the natives remove the roadblock. But while that's taking place, what I would personally do, outside of making sure those phone calls are taking place, is I would show up and take photos. I'd give the OPP 24 hours to lay charges, remove the natives, or I'd be in the courthouse the very next day. If within 48 hours the OPP have not removed the toll booth, then the local inspector would be informed that he will be facing criminal charges unless he does his duty in this area. It is an illegal act for the OPP not to do their duty. Now there's a book coming out on October the 26th called Helpless, where you can finally read what senior OPP are now saying, what really took place behind the scenes, okay? And how OPP officers are telling us, finally admitting that what happened was illegal. Well, we as the residents who pay your taxes for police service, you cannot allow the OPP not to do their job. Within our democracy, within our system of law, the mayor is a peace officer. I didn't write it, that's what the British government meant. So we have to make sure that the council maintains peace within this community. You try to use back channels if you can, but it can't go on for weeks. Tell the OPP, here's the ultimatum. Either you lay the charge or we lay the charge. End of story.
Craig, your comments to that question?
Thank you very much. The question is what I would do as a councillor if a toll road were to take place in 2011. Well, let's just say if it was going to happen, I don't think there'd be much that someone could do to stop it, because you can't stop someone from simply putting up a roadblock. That being said, if you do your job properly, that roadblock will never exist. If you do your job properly, you'll make the connections to ensure that these things don't happen. And when one silly person or two silly people take it upon themselves to put themselves out above their own community, those people that you've made contact with will get the barricade down. This has nothing to do with the OPP. I'm sorry. The OPP they cannot know when someone will be radical enough to do what they do. I wish it was not true. I wish that someone would not go out of their way to go after a community, to try and push themselves on someone, but that is absolutely no different than we have in regular daylight every single day. We meet adversity, we deal with it. I've been down to the barricades as a councillor. I've been down to roadblocks as a councillor. I stayed there with residents for hours at a time. I've gone to where occupations are and been with residents and talked with residents that are directly affected. I've been there. I've lived beside it, and I deal with it every single day. Residents have dealt with it. Residents know. Residents respect. And people, we are doing our job better. And again, as your counselor, I will try and do my absolute best to take every single inroad to ensure that something like this simply doesn't happen in our community.
During the election, a lot of promises are made. How do you intend to keep them?
Gary?
Well, I've tried to, over the past 5 weeks, not just make broad statements about we want to have development or we want to increase the tax base, but if you've been reading our ads, we are very clear on exactly what we want to do. I think I'm well known that I am committed to Caledonia. I don't think there's too many people who are going to think that what I say today I'm going to suddenly give up tomorrow and back off because someone pressures me or someone intimidates me or the OPP decides to sue me again. So I've lived it. I think one of the main questions should be is where have the other people been for the last 4.5 years? You know, when it comes time for election, people stand up and say an awful lot of things. But what have you actually done? I've worked behind the scenes daily. Since this election has started, I've been in court 10 days since this election started. I don't tell everybody all that. The commitment I have made to this community, without receiving a paycheck, without having people pat me on the back on a regular basis, and certainly there's an awful lot of people who hate my guts, I am committed to you. There's no question about the fact that whatever I'm telling you, I'm going to do.
First of all, in this election, I make no promises that I cannot keep. I think we have to look at one fact already tonight. If I looked at the 3 questions that the Chamber of Commerce put forward, I've already mentioned in my pamphlet 2 months ago. I know this community. I live this community. I've been part of this community for 41 years and a councillor for 10 years of my 41. The promises people make, they try to take care of any possible way they possibly can. The last election, I said that I would do everything I possibly can to ensure your voice is heard by the province, by the federal government, and I have done that time and time again. This election is no different. When there is an issue, I will deal with it. When there is a concern, pick up the phone. I'll answer the phone. You want me to come to your house? I've already proven I'll do that too. Accessibility is a key in this election. Being forthright with your opinions and honest with your answers is what we all deserve. This is what I've offered for 10 years of council. This is what I offer again today. The goals that I have put forward are all achievable.